With your background in being a preacher, do you think that helps you in a lot of ways?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And sometimes I thought, I get beat up a lot by other ministers. I mean, too, because we have like theological fights. They'll say, well, how can you be preaching this violence? And I'm thinking, hold the phone. First thing, gun do not equal violence.
Yeah.
It's the heart of man that Jesus was trying to change. And then they go, oh, okay. And before they know it, I done pulled them into the whole argument.
Yeah.
And then they got to walk away because I done messed them up.
Yeah.
And then later they got to go say, okay, well, how about if I just get lessons and maybe not preach to my congregation? I was like, that's called hypocrisy.
That's so true. It's, it's interesting and it's unfortunate, again, Charleston, I always mess it up. The shooting that happened in the church.
Yes, in Charleston.
Yeah. And
the Booth dude.
And it's hard. Like, a part of me really wanted to lash out, and not at the people you think I would lash out at. I in many ways wanted to lash out at the church, because if there was ever a situation where somebody else having a gun would have been incredibly effective, it would have been in that church.
Yeah.
And it's not lashing. It's not me wanting to lash out in anger, but more so pain. Because it's something that shouldn't have happened, and something that could have been not necessarily preventable, but stoppable.
Yeah, we got a culture in the black church that amplifies that whole thing. That guns are negative, that nobody should have one except for the police and the military, that Jesus wouldn't approve of it. And the fact of it is, we don't get to the real nitty-gritty of it. The whole arms thing, you want the person with the highest moral character to be able to carry a firearm.
Absolutely.
If you go back to the old Chinese flicks where the mouth is moving and the voice don't match, it was those Shaolin monks, priests, the religious people who had the art of the death touch.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the ones who trained the Shaolin monks. So I tell people, when I was pastoring in a really tough church in D.C., I would ask my deacons, I said, well, we have a problem, because if the pastor has to come off this pulpit, you know how it's going to go down. And they would just laugh, but they would get the hint, like, handle it before I got to go to it, because I ain't got but one button: protect my flock, shepherd, do the protection deal, and that's what I'm based on.
It's also interesting when you look at two situations that happen. You have two situations where somebody brought a gun into a church intending on killing a lot of people. I don't remember the specific name of the church of the other case, but I remember there was one situation where there was a lady there. She was security. She was working security at the church, and she stopped the guy. She shot the guy who came into the church, who basically said, "I want to kill a bunch of Christians." And in that situation, I think the only person that died was that guy.
Yeah.
And then in the alternative, you have this situation here, and it goes to show immediately, like, I can't implore anymore the importance of being in a position to defend yourself. Like, and I got into it. No, I don't get into it with her anymore. But with my mother, who's incredibly religious, I remember when I was trying to get her to keep the gun that I was giving her in the house. I remember she was like, "Oh, baby, I don't need it. I got Jesus." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. Jesus gave you a son that'll give you your gun." So,
right?
Yeah. And so now she doesn't fight me anymore. She understands now, and she's accepted that part of it. But there's this false narrative, I think, where people assume that just because you are a Christian or that you espouse some religion that teaches peace, that teaches love, that teaches forgiveness and kindness, that it means that you also must be passive to the point of your own self-destruction.
Yeah, we missed that part. That Jesus, if you just hit Christianity by itself and Judaism, if you hit Christianity, you have a guy who was there on a mission, and he was there to sacrifice his life. So every time somebody tried to step up with the sword, he told them, put it away. And they just misinterpreted that whole piece. Whenever the centurion, who's my favorite dude in this story, showed up and asked him if he would heal his servant, Jesus didn't say, "Oh, I can't heal you because you're armed," or "I can't heal you because you're a military guy," or "you have been in war." he said this was one of the guys with the best faith because you knew the power that I have. We get lost and get confused in what the person's carrying when it's really what's in your heart.
Yeah.
It always has mattered, and it matters both when you're actually engaging and talking about this whole issue. Some people that are in our families shouldn't have firearms, and I mean, we got crazy people
Absolutely.
on both sides.
Yeah,
and they're the first ones who will tell you, but they like to project that on everybody else. Like, I'm not responsible, so you can't be either, and that's where you're wrong. I have to stop you right there.
I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who were against what I did, and their basis for it was, well, I don't trust myself with a gun, so I know I can't trust you. And I'm like, are you crazy? like don't project your own inadequacies onto me. Like I'm not you. I'm totally I'm a whole different person. If you don't own a gun, don't own it. But we got to take a quick break real quick, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the books that you have and some of the other things you have going on.
Thanks.